It's interesting because I think some people have heard my story. I don't actually have a personal autism background, but I have a head trauma background. But, I think about after and I don't think I understood this term completely, or even that whole idea of kind of completely hitting a wall until I had my head injury. My kids were pretty little, and then everybody was hungry and the kids were crying, and went into this restaurant that was pretty noisy and just started feeling, oh, and I was trying to keep it together, keep it together, keep it together. Pulled out of the driveway of this restaurant, and that balloon was on my kid's hand and came back and hit me in the back of the head, a touch of a balloon. And it tipped me over in a way that I had never been tipped over in my entire adult life with my kids. I'm literally screaming and having this kind of, meltdown. And it was so foreign to me. But then when I looked back on it, I was really very embarrassed. I was really very, chagrined. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible parent. But it was interesting because I've thought about that sense as how so many of our kids on the spectrum, it can be that tiny little balloon on the bump on the back of the head, right? It can be this tiny little thing. In other words, they're holding together, and it can be the tiniest little thing. But sometimes it's just this tiny little thing, like, I need you to get off the bus, right? I need you to get off the school bus and walk into the classroom. That's just like that's my capacity. That is my wall. And I don't know that everybody has that true sense of the wall, like somebody who's on the autism spectrum or somebody who's had, traumatic brain injury. I've worked with people who have had, severe illness, severe physical illness, or who've had to go through, chemotherapy. In other words, there is a true wall there. And for our kids with autism, they're pushing their capacity closer to that wall than most people all the time, because it takes. So I think it's important to understand that there are some real causes, and then there's also sometimes just those little tip overs, like the balloon on the back of the head, right? And I think that's really what you're saying here.
Because almost any time that anyone, either on or off the spectrum, is reacting in a way that a lot of us might say is, wow, what's with the overreaction, right? Almost any time that's happening, it's not an overreaction, because it's not really, if you were completely fine and at ease and the balloon hit you in the back, that I'm sure it would have been no big deal. But so it wasn't like you overreacted to the balloon. It was that you just appropriately reacted to all the other stuff that was building up, and that maybe was your tipping point in that instance.